Welcome to the newest season of the Football Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Reginald. Listen, it's been a while since our last show. Don't do any shows over international break. Don't do any shows during the summer. We should because we have to follow TFC, unfortunately. Um, but I think I'm going to be boycotting the TFC for obvious reasons. Um, Actually, that's not very fair. They actually haven't lost in the last six, but they also haven't won. It's six draws in a row. Um, Taking a look at the younger players that we have in the setup going forward for TFC, which is what Robin Fraser is trying to do to see what he's got, where they need to strengthen for next year. If that's the case, then I'll catch you next year. Um, Biggest thing out of TFC this offseason. We'll start in Canada. The biggest thing this off season or maybe not even off season. It was during the season that the two Italian flops have left. Bernadeschi, maybe not such a flop for Bernadeschi. He actually worked hard when he was here, but after he leaves, you start hearing about stuff in the dressing room. How much of it's true? Who knows? Who knows? Where that information is coming from, also, who knows? Who knows? But if it is true, that sucks because I didn't think he was that type of person. But again, I take anything I hear on social media with a grain of salt. Who really knows what really happened in the dressing room until it comes out from a coach or another player that was there? I 10% believe it. 10% believe it, so we can talk about it on the podcast. But the real flop, Lorenzo Insigne, had to go. Had to go. It was kind of shocking to see actually Bernadeschi get let go at the same time as Insigne, which lends me to believe that maybe some of the things we did here were true. But Lorenzo Insigne, the biggest flop I've seen in MLS. Can I say MLS? One of them, I can say one of them for sure. One of the biggest flops in MLS has been Lorenzo Insigne. He didn't come anywhere close to being as productive as his paycheck. Not even close. So those two guys are gone. I believe there are slots for designated players. Maybe we can follow the Miami FC model of designated players, where you can have 8 of them. Apparently, you can have 8 of them, but only a couple of them are designated that because of this, and we're only paying him that, and we're only doing this, and and they skirt around the rules like that. But Messi's here. Where Miami's here, I think this Saturday in Toronto, this Saturday coming up. You just know it's going to be a repeat. And I did a whole show on this last season where Messi, it's a game where we have to win to make the playoffs. And 85% of the crowd was there to see Messi, and Messi touches the ball. You got grown men screaming, "We love you, Messi." Like, come on, man. Anyways, I'm not going to get back into that. If you want to see what I said, watch the show. It's called Clown Fans, I believe it's called, because we're a bunch of, well, not me, but the audiences that go to watch specific players play when your actual home team is playing and cheer against your team, clown fan base. Only in North America, by the way. Only in North America. You guys, we're never going to be taken seriously as a nation, a footballing nation, if that's the way we behave at games. But again, if you want to hear exactly what I said, I went on like a 35-minute rant on it. Go listen to that show. I believe it's called Clown Fans. Keeping in Canada, national team, not bad. Again, I've apologized already once before last season again about Jesse Marsch. I said, why are we hiring this guy? He's a failure everywhere he goes. Why are we hiring this guy? Looks like the best guy for the job that we could have picked. Kudos to Canada Soccer for choosing him, because if it was up to me, he wouldn't be there. Well, we have an incident with one of the players, Ishmael Kone. I love Ishmael Kone. I think he's a fantastic midfielder. But I give you the benefit of the doubt if something happens once. When it happens twice, maybe you're the problem. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a video going around at Ishmael Kone at Marseille practice, which he was a part of the Marseille Football Club. The coach De Zerbi, if you remember him from Brighton in the EPL, once was the coach of Brighton in the EPL. You could hear him having a screaming match with the player. And I don't really agree with the way that the coach is, trying to get the best out of a player. But I don't even think this was that. This was something that's probably been boiling over for some time, and finally it just exploded. If you haven't seen that clip, I probably can't even show it to you because of licensing and all that. But just to paraphrase what the clip is, apparently Kone was holding on to the ball too long. De Zerbi wants that ball moved quickly. He stopped the practice. Kone talked back to him saying no one was open, and De Zerbi just went off. Get out of my practice. Go call your agent. Get out of here. Don't want you here. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. But you were looking at it and just thinking, like, what's going on? Like, you can't just explode at someone like that for the first thing that he did. So I believe it's something that's been boiling over between De Zerbi and Kone for some time, and it just exploded at the practice. So you look at it and you go, okay, well, maybe De Zerbi overreacted a little bit because now Kone, I believe, is at, I think he's in Italy. I can't remember where he is, actually, but I don't remember where he is. But he's not on Marseille anymore. He was sold. So fast forward a couple of months, and in the past international break, Kone gets substituted by Jesse Marsh, and just like, why me? What did I do? I was playing this, and I was playing, and he has a little bit of a spat on the sideline. Granted, we can't hear exactly what was said. Granted, Jesse Marsh and Kone aren't going to come out and say what was said, but looking at it, it looks like the same type of thing. It looked like, why are you taking me off? I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That guy's doing this, that guy's doing that, and you're taking me off. Why are you taking me off? That type of body language. That's what I saw. Listen, Kone's probably never going to hear this, but for you guys out there, listen, there's only one, fortunately, there's only one Messi. There's only one Ronaldo. There's only one Ronaldinho. There's only one R9. There's only one Thierry Henry, and the list goes on and on. There's only one Maldini, only one Pirlo, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. If you're not at that level, take the instruction, shut your mouth, sit on the bench, don't say a word. We're starting to get into it looks like he's starting to get into the mindset that he's bigger than the club, bigger than the team. It shouldn't be me that comes off. It should be someone else. I play soccer too. I hate getting subbed. I hate not starting, and I hate getting subbed. But, if the coach sees that, someone else can bring something different that we need in that game, it sucks, but I'll never sulk, and I'll run off, shake hands with the coach, shake hands with the guy going on, and sit on the bench, keep my mouth shut. I'm fuming inside, but you'll never see it, and you'll never hear it from me. That's just the way I was brought up to play. And, in this era of the player is always right, the players in general get the coaches sacked. And in all honesty, they do. I think we have to start, maybe some players need to start taking a look in the mirror and seeing that, hey, maybe I haven't really made it yet. Maybe Messi can do that because he runs the league. Or maybe Ronaldinho can do that when he was playing. Maybe, Pirlo, who to me is as a gentleman, I probably never would say anything like that. Maybe he can do that in his glory days with AC Milan and Juve. Maybe he can do that. But Ismail Kone needs to relax. Need to relax, my friend. We won't say anything further about that. So, guys, the new season comes. New season for Futbol Weekly. New season starts for all the leagues. Trying to get a couple of games under the belt before we started the podcast. We've had some doozy games so far. Out in Italy, we've already had Inter Juve 4-4 game. What a game. Not because of the goals, but the quality of the goals that were scored, fantastic. We were at a soccer tournament in Niagara Falls during that game. Somebody streamed their Futbol account to the TV, and we all watched it there, and there were some fantastic goals and heavy drama. We actually had to go to our game, so it was 3-2 Inter, I believe. when we left, and then you find out it was 4-4, and then we put on the highlights, and it was just like the goals were fantastic. So that big game in Italy already. We've had Liverpool, Arsenal already. If you listen to my other podcast, the Clock Enders, the Arsenal podcast that I have, I've already mentioned what I think of Liverpool. If that's the Liverpool that we're going to see for the rest of the season, not afraid of that. That's going to get done in at the Emirates if they're still on top of the table by then. They get a lot of lucky bounces. I always tell our Liverpool fan, Liverpool Logan, the slipper's going to fall off the foot eventually. Like, you guys aren't. This is not the Liverpool of whenever Klopp was there and they won Champions League. It's not that Liverpool. This Liverpool is a shadow of that. And I know you just got Isak, and I know they just got Isak, and we're sitting here and we're just telling everybody that these players are world class. And we've had this discussion on the show before. I asked a question on my other Threads account for the other podcast after we played Liverpool. And after Arsenal played Liverpool, and I asked a question like, what player out there is considered world class, but is nowhere near world class? And I started with Alexis McAllister from Liverpool. Awful. World class. Gravenberch had a couple of good games now. Now I'm hearing world class Gravenberch. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, guys. Not everybody has to be world class. Not everybody has to be world class. If you're gonna sit there and tell me that Zinedine Zidane was world class and Diego Maradona was world class and Messi's world class, you're putting Gravenberch in the same talks. Stop it, man. Stop, man. Where did we come up with this? Alexis McAllister is world class. Where did we come up with this? When did this start? And how come no one nipped it in the bud? I'm not going to say anyone. When I say a player is awful, I'm exaggerating for comedic purposes. But world class, he's nowhere near it, guys. He's a professional footballer in one of the best leagues in the world. No problem. I get it. World class, not even close, my friends. Not even close. So I put a poll up, and I'll put a poll up again for this podcast, and ask, what player out there is deemed world class by whoever, pundits and media, whoever, but is really nowhere near it. And like I said, my first vote, Alexis McAllister. Not even close. Not even close. We had Arsenal, Man City yesterday. And again, if that's the Man City that's going to go for the rest of the season, I'm not afraid of that either. Not afraid of that either. So Arsenal lost to Liverpool 1-0, and they tied City yesterday 1-1. But that City draw yesterday was 100% on the shoulders of Mikel Arteta, who started off the game scared. If you listen to the podcast from yesterday that I made, Clock Enders podcast, by the way, on YouTube and Spotify and all the popular podcast platforms, he wasted 45 minutes of my life, the first half. Awful. Passing backwards, passing sideways, passing backwards, passing sideways. Possession's great to have, but you got to do something with the possession. You can have 90% of the possession, you have 3 shots on net. What's the point? What's the point? So we've had 2 big games in the EPL already. We've had a big game in Serie A. Not sure if there were any big games in the Bundesliga. I should have actually probably looked at that first before doing the show, but we also had PSV Ajax yesterday. I turned it off when it was 1-1. I don't remember what the final score was, but I'll put it up in the. I'll let you know next show when we're doing shows. La Liga. I don't see anything that happened in La Liga as far as big games go in La Liga. Not yet. There's no El Clasico. I believe Barcelona played Espanyol, which is a big rivalry game for them as well. That went through. We've started Champions League. Champions League has started. Are you a fan of this format? I'm not. I don't know if I'm just a creature of habit and I like the 8 groups of 4 or whatever it was, and you play home and away. I like that. I don't like this table format. And I know it's a table format, so you can add more teams that don't deserve to be in Champions League, but it's all about that. So I get it, I guess. no problem. The World Cup's the same. The tickets have gone on sale for the World Cup. You know, now it's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's a couple, 8 months away, this World Cup. 4 more teams in this World Cup. Don't know why. Don't know why. Again, creature of habit, 6 groups of 4. That's it. Or 8 groups of 4, 32 teams. That's it. You play for the World Cup. Now there's 48 teams. The next World Cup is going to be 64 teams. It's too much. Imagine you win the lottery, or you win the lottery and you win the raffle, and you get to go see Iran versus Jordan in Vancouver. That's awesome. Like, where can I sign up to watch that? Too many teams in the World Cup right now. Too many teams. But again, it's FIFA, so it's all about the you-know-what. I get it. So as we get closer to the World Cup, we'll be discussing the teams that have made it so far. I think there was World Cup. In the last international break was 4 World Cup qualifying. So we'll talk about the teams that make it later down the road. We'll also get deeper into the Champions League later down the road. This is the first episode of the new season, episode 199, by the way. Next episode is 200, so that's a big one for the podcast. So we might have some people join us. Who knows? But yeah, look out for that. It should be next week. If the podcast name says Football Weekly, we should be doing a show every week. But we'll see what happens. It never works out like that, but we'll see what happens. We're going to run through everything really quickly for the first show. There's something else that caught my eye this past week. Joe and I have always been saying, listen, we're grassroots first. We're Canada soccer first. If there's a way to get our players seen by, other better leagues other than the MLS, let's do it. Let's create a pathway for that to happen, whether it be NCAA or USSL or MLS, whatever it is, so they can get seen. A great example of that would be Alistair Johnston, who was drafted by, I believe, Nashville. Yeah, he was drafted by Nashville, then got moved on to Montreal, and then next thing you know, he's on Celtic FC, starting day in, day out over there. That's a great story. Tejan Buchanan as well. Look where he is at. Look where he's at now. Villarreal in Spain playing in Champions League. Was it Champions League he was playing in? I don't even remember. He's playing at Villarreal from, started off university NCAA at Syracuse, I believe, and then went to New England Revolution. Now he's gone overseas. He's played for Inter. Got a bad injury during Canada training and wasn't really instrumental to anything Inter did the Champions League year, but moved on to Villarreal, and from all accounts, he's playing well over there as well. Other avenues to go, like Jonathan David went from Lille, busting the net at Lille, now plays for Juve in Italy. I mean, there's different ways to get to your goal. Okay, so TSN, the sports network in Canada, here had an interview with Alistair Johnston where they discussed this. This was about 2 weeks ago. But guys, and I'm not here to toot my own horn or toot the show's horn or toot Joe's horn, whatever. We had this kid on first. Alistair Johnston was on this show, and we discussed this about two years ago. I think it was 2021, just after COVID. We had him on the show, and we discussed all of this. We had Carmen Asako on the show, discussed all of this. TSN comes out with an interview last week, and it's the first time anyone's hearing about this. Ahead of our Football Weekly podcast, ahead of its time. I wish I had the audience TSN had. Holy smokes. Put everybody out of business. So, I mean, if you want to go back and hear what Carmen Asako and Alistair Johnston mentioned in their interviews, we talked to them for about an hour each, 2 separate interviews, an hour each. We talked to Kamal Miller, we talked to Dane St. Clair on the Canadian men's national team as well. So another broadcaster, right after we did Alistair Johnston, a week later, another broadcaster interviewed Alistair Johnston. I'm not going to name names, We interviewed Kamal Miller. A week later, another broadcaster, the same broadcaster, interviewed Kamal Miller. Go and interview Dane St. Clair. A week later, another network interviewed Dane St. Clair. The same network, by the way. Someone's listening to the podcast there, but we don't get any recognition, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Again, I wish I had the audience that TSN had for soccer anyway. Anyways, let's get into transfers. We're moving really, really quickly. Again, first show of the season, not really much happening. There's news, little bits and pieces of news here and there. Like Messi's going to sign a new contract with Miami. Stuff, just little stuff like that, which we will discuss later. If when Joe comes back, we'll be discussing those type of things and other little things that are happening within the world of football as well. But we're going to end it off on the transfer market. Lots of movement this past transfer. We could have done shows every week just based on rumors and transfers. So I want to ask you guys out there, what league do you think had the best transfer window as far as a whole league? And I know people, it's going to be EPL, but is it really? Well, I guess it is probably. But you could have an argument for other leagues. La Liga brought in Anthony, and everyone laughs. Anthony plays well at Real Betis. He was fantastic at Real Betis, by the way, actually. That's the Anthony Manchester City or Manchester United thought they were getting when they bought him from Ajax. That's what Ten Hag saw, and that's the guy. You're the guy. Come in. And it did not turn out that way. You go on loan to Real Betis, and you find your groove. He was fantastic. So he made that deal permanent there. Rashford's gone to Barcelona. There was a big hubbubaloo about Rashford going to Barcelona. English media pundits saying Marcus Rashford doesn't deserve his move to Barcelona. And you sit back and you sit there, he doesn't deserve his move to Barcelona. What does that mean? He doesn't deserve to play for Barcelona? Like, why? Because he's got a white Rolls Royce, and most players, if you're serious about your craft, you don't have to buy a white Rolls Royce. And you know who has a white Rolls Royce? Elton John and this. Like, what does that have to do with football? I'm still like, it's one of those things where you ask a question, they answer it. They didn't answer the question, and you're looking at them like, yeah, okay, so what's the answer? Well, why? And it's just, I don't know, the two-way punditry that's there. If Jack Grealish goes and buys a white Rolls Royce, he can do whatever he wants with his money. When Marcus Rashford goes and buys a white Rolls Royce, it's, what's this guy doing? Like, it's all flashy. He doesn't deserve his move to Barcelona. I still don't have an answer for that. Doesn't deserve his move to Barcelona. Like, what are you talking about? Dean Saunders, what are you talking about? Anyways, talk about that another time as well. Like we mentioned earlier, Tejan Buchanan playing at Villarreal. That he's new in Spain as well, and an Arsenal legend. Can I say legend? Everybody loved this guy when he was at Arsenal. Alexis Sanchez joined Sevilla, and I think he scored over the weekend. I think he's 38 now, I believe. Scored over the weekend, so. A bunch of early moves. I'm only going to do 4 or 5 moves that I think that are major in that league, and those are the 5 that I saw in Spain. I know there's more. Obviously, there's more, but those are the 5 biggest ones I have, and obviously the Canadian content for Tejan Buchanan, of course. Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. Like, what, are you guys good? Like, you went undefeated a couple of seasons ago. You gutted that whole team, and I feel bad for Ten Hag. Ten Hag took over that team, and it's like, we're going to sell this guy, we're going to sell Xhaka, we're going to sell this guy, we're going to sell Boniface, we're going to sell this guy, we're going to sell this guy, we're going to sell this guy, and you're leaving him with nothing. I think Grimaldo is the only player that's there left from that team that won everything. And Ten Hag, rightfully so, like, guys, what are you doing? Like, how are you backing me for success with that? Oh, you don't like it? Boom, gone. And they got rid of him. I don't know who takes over that team, but good luck to you. I actually feel bad for Ten Hag. I don't feel bad for any managers, but I feel bad for Ten Hag because you're taking over a team that's going to be competitive, and you just sell everybody. Everybody's gone, and not fair to Ten Hag to do that after he signs on. So I don't even think he coached a game. I think he coached a couple of preseason games, and that was it. He was done. Luis Diaz from Liverpool goes over to Bayern Munich and just having a ball playing with Olise and Harry Kane and Kimmich and all those guys, just having a ball out there. So Bayern Munich gets strengthened again. Bayer Leverkusen gets absolutely decimated. I can see the writing on the wall already. Next week we'll do the standings and all of that stuff as well, where teams are located 4 or 5 games into the season. We'll move to England. Wow. I mean, wow. Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United. Mbuemo to Manchester United. Cunha from Wolves over to Manchester United. Lots of movement. Gyökeres from Sporting to Arsenal. Donnarumma from PSG to Man City. Garnacho leaves Man United and goes to Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea goes to Bayern Munich. I mean, that's not really a big deal, I guess, but it still happened. Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace to Arsenal. What else did Arsenal do? Zubamende from Real Sociedad to Arsenal. Grealish from City to Everton. I think that's a loan though. But lots of movement in England. And now players from overseas are coming over and seeing how hard this league really is. And it's not hard technically. It's just the physical nature of the league. It's 100 miles an hour, and it's very physical, and it's refereed like garbage. So you have to be prepared to take those 3 things and mesh them in together and get your performances based off those 3 things. Because especially in England, if you don't hit the ground running, the media and the fans will rip you to shreds. The what have you done for me lately media and fans will rip you to shreds if you don't score a hat trick in the first 10 minutes you step on the field. I believe it was Paul Scholes from Manchester United was talking about Gyökeres and says it looks like he's running in jeans. 3rd game he's ever played in the EPL. 3rd game on a new team. 3rd game on a team that doesn't provide service to him. Talk about that another time as well. Arteta needs to figure that out too, because we do not play off our striker at all. Anyways, different topic, go listen to Clockenders podcast if you want to hear the rant on that as well. So lots of movement. Oh, Isak from Newcastle to Liverpool. I mean, there was only one footballer on that Newcastle team, and it was Isak. The rest of them are hacks. Bruno Guimaraes, world class. On what planet, my friend? Joelinton. I was telling someone else the other day. They didn't really know much about football, and then we were talking about players. Is this player good? And this player good? And she was asking me, is this player good? And I'm like, yeah, listen, there's a difference between footballers. She's like, what do you mean? I said, there's ballers, and then there's guys that play football. So she goes, okay. Starts naming players. I go, baller. He just plays football. Joelinton is just a guy that plays football. Bruno Guimaraes is just a guy that plays football. Anthony Gordon just plays football. Isak, baller. Zubamendi, baller. Saka, baller. Garnacho, he plays football. He's a guy who plays football. Anybody on Tottenham, just guys that play football. So that's how I describe some players out there. And Newcastle is just full of guys that just play football. Dan Burn and Fabian Schär, and just guys that play football. Don't add anything. You're not gonna watch a Newcastle game and say, "Oh my God, who's that?" You won't. Now that Isak's gone, there's no ballers left on that team. None. Actually, you know what? I might take Livermento. He's pretty good, actually. I might take him. But if you haven't noticed, I'm not a big fan of Newcastle United. I actually despise that club, no end. On par with Tottenham Hotspur, but I do not like Newcastle at all. Not a big club. Fan base is, I mean, it's fine if you love your club and you want it, but don't come off like you invented football. You should be talked about in the same breath as Real Madrid and Barcelona and PSG. You're not that. You're not that. Not even close to that. Anyways. So Isak's gone from Newcastle to Liverpool. Again, has to get his fitness up, but that looks scary if you add, and I said earlier that I'm not afraid of that Liverpool, but if you add Isak to that and he starts hitting the ground running at the same time that Salah's balling and Fabian, we forgot about Wirtz. Wirtz came in as well to the league, started off slowly, but I can't call him a flop because he started off slowly and not call Gyökeres's flop because he started off slowly, even though he has 3 goals. He has more goals than Šeško, Mbeumo, and Cunha combined, but I still can't call him a flop if I don't call Gyökeres a flop. So I'll give some time for Florian Wirtz to come around. Apparently, he played really well against Atletico Madrid. I watched the game. Okay, if you say so, but I'll give him some time as well. I'll give all the players some time to get into it. People are complaining about Benjamin Šeško as well at Man United. Doesn't look close to scoring goals. But again, he'll get his time. He'll get his service. Let's rate the season at the end of the season, or maybe even halfway at Christmas. Let's rate what players are doing in the league. And the last league we're going to look at Italy, Serie A. I have a running joke with one of my friends on one of my teams that Serie A is the MLS of Europe because you only play there when you're really young or your career's over. So Jamie Vardy now plays for Cremonese in Serie A. I think he's 38. Akanji plays for Inter Milan. He's just terrible. I was so upset that Akanji had left. He wasn't playing. Him and John Stones together at the back. When you're an opposing team, it's lovely to see those two out there. It's so lovely to see those two out there. John Stones is the reason why Martinelli scored that goal yesterday. If you go back and watch it, A, he kept them on side. B, he played a high line. He came in and all of a sudden their defense was playing a high line and balls are just getting played over the top, and you're never going to catch Martinelli or Saka when they get a step on you. So not sure what he was doing, but thank God he was there. Rasmus Højlund went to Napoli from Manchester United. Couldn't get any goals at United, goes to Napoli, looks like he's having the time of his life out in Italy. Kevin De Bruyne, surplus to requirements at Manchester City, finds his way to Napoli as well in Italy. We talked about Jonathan David joining Juventus. One of Joe's team just signed Luka Modric, 40 years old. So I joke that it's the MLS of Europe. I joke, but I mean you don't see players going to leagues like La Liga or EPL, especially at 38, 40. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it there. But it's no disrespect to the league at all, believe me. Not at all. Like I said, we watched that Inter Juve game. It was fantastic. If that's how it's going to be against when those big games come along, Inter versus AC Juve, AC, whatever it is. If that's the way those games are going to be, that's must-watch TV. 100% must-watch TV. And Dusan Vlahovic looks like he's pissed off playing for Juve up top. He looks pissed off. You brought in a couple of strikers and, you forgot all about me. Well, here I am. He turned that game around in the Champions League game around against Dortmund. he turned that game around single-handedly. I think 2 goals and an assist. So he's one to watch over at U of A as well. So guys, I mean, it's been 35 minutes of me chatting to you. I mean, it's the first show of the season. Just getting my feet back into doing all these podcasts again. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please, guys, it's free. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. We're on all popular podcast platforms. There's no need for you not to be listening to us. It's free. It's free. Again, if you want to go listen back to our interview with Carmen Asako, where we talked about pathways and how to get professional exposure, and we also talked to Alistair Johnston. They're all up on the website. Go to the website, futbolweekly.com. Check them out. We'll be back next week. Like I said, next week is our 200th episode. Hopefully, I can line up some people to talk to us about the different things going on in the world of football, whether it be overseas in Europe or in Canada. Still trying to get an interview with somebody that I think would be great, because he no longer works for who he used to work for. And I think once you start poking, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff. So trying to line that up. Hopefully we can get this guy. I would love to have him and love to find out what happened in the background. It would open the eyes of many people on what really happens. And I'm not gonna. If I tell you what I was about to say, it'll give it away. But in club football and international football, what happens behind the scenes and how things are decided and things like that nature. I think that would be like one of our best interviews that we've had. So working on that. Hopefully we can get that done. I'm not going to say when. Hopefully by the end of this season we can get this done. But a lot of hoops to go through, a lot of people to talk to. So we have that in the works. So let's see what happens. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.